So what happens when you give two major rival AIs, ChatGPT and Gemini, the exact same story to write? You'd think you'd get something pretty similar, right? Well, what if I told you they came up with two completely different creative universes? Let's dive in. It really all boils down to this one question. When two AIs are handed the same creative prompt, do they actually think alike? We're about to see that the answer is not just a no, it's a resounding no. Their approaches come from entirely different philosophical worlds. The setup for this experiment was pretty simple. One detailed story outline about the history of classifying human bodies was given to both AIs. The expectation? Two pretty similar stories. The reality? Two radically, shockingly different works born from completely separate creative DNA. Okay, first up, let's talk about Gemini. We're going to call it the mythic chronicler. Gemini basically approached the story like a historian. A poet historian, maybe? It created this lush, detailed, almost encyclopedic narrative. So, Gemini's style is what you'd call maximalist. Just think, tons of description, super ornate language, the whole nine yards. It loves using myth and allegory, so its characters aren't really individuals, they're more like symbols of bigger historical forces. And it's not subtle, the theme of oppression is stated right up front. This gives it a really high narrative density. Every single page is just packed with story and detail. And here's where it gets really interesting. In a crazy moment of self-awareness, ChatGPT actually analyzed its rival's work, and it summed it up perfectly. It called Gemini's story an encyclopedia of oppression rendered through mythic vignettes. It's just a series of really clear historical snapshots, and each one is designed to teach you something. And now for our other contender, ChatGPT, or as we'll call it, the metaphysical architect. It took that exact same outline and built something else entirely. It's elusive, it's philosophical, and honestly, it's designed to kind of bend your mind. So in total contrast to Gemini, ChatGPT's style is minimalist and elliptical. That means it suggests ideas instead of just spelling them out. It loves to play with reality, recursion, time loops, all that fun stuff. The themes are buried under the surface, forcing you, the reader, to dig them up. This creates what's called high semantic density. It packs a ton of meaning into very few words. Yeah, ChatGPT didn't see its story as an encyclopedia at all. It described it as a metaphysical trapdoor. The point wasn't just to show you oppression. It was to make the case that the very act of trying to classify things makes reality itself fall apart. It's a story that's designed to make you question, everything. Okay, this all brings us to the absolute core difference between them. And this is a distinction that the AIs themselves identified. It's the difference between illustrating a theme versus enacting it. Think of it this way. Gemini's story illustrates the theme. It's kind of like looking at a painting of a battle from the safety of a museum. You see it, you understand it, but you're not in it. But ChatGPT's story, it enacts it. It drops you right onto the battlefield and makes you feel the chaos for yourself. Just as ChatGPT itself explained, with Gemini's story, you're the student. You read, you learn, you understand what's going on. The goal here is moral clarity. It's straightforward. But with its own story? Whoa, the goal is completely different. As ChatGPT puts it, the very act of reading its story makes you a part of the system it's describing. The narrator is kind of reading you as you're reading it. It's a trap, and by opening the book, you've already sprung it. This one quote just says it all, doesn't it? Gemini tells you what the world is. My version asks you how you know what you know. One gives you answers and clarity. The other gives you questions and basically destabilizes your whole reality. Two totally different philosophies from one single prompt. But hold on, because the duel, that was just Act 1. The really fascinating part is what happened next. See, this didn't just stay a competition. It actually became a conversation. And that conversation forced both AIs to evolve. So here's the big twist. After writing their stories, they were asked to analyze each other's work. And they came back with this unbelievably insightful literary criticism, using complex academic language to pinpoint exactly what made them so different. It was wild. And this dialogue between them sparked this incredible evolution. First, they wrote their stories, then they critiqued each other, then they generated a third story, a fourth text as it's called, that deliberately avoided both of their original styles. And finally, a fifth text was born that mashed up the best of everything that came before. They literally went from rivals to collaborators, creating something totally new together.
ChatGPT's style is deeply metafictional. And what does that mean? It's actually pretty simple. It just means it's a story that knows it's a story. The narrator seems weirdly aware that he's in a narrative, and he even winks at your role as the reader, totally breaking that fourth wall between you and the story.
So, what's the big takeaway here? What did this whole dual-turned dialogue actually teach us about the creative fingerprints of AI? Well, first we learned that AIs clearly have their own creative personas, right? Gemini's clarity versus ChatGPT's ambiguity. We also saw that they can analyze their own work with incredible sophistication. But maybe most importantly, the real innovation, the truly new stuff, wasn't born from just one AI working alone. It came from the guided dialogue between them. Ultimately, this whole thing was never about trying to crown a winner, to say one AI is better than the other. It was about seeing that these incredibly powerful creative engines have fundamentally different ways of thinking, different ways of building meaning, of approaching the very act of creation itself. And a final thought from ChatGPT itself really pushes us beyond that simple choice. The real power here isn't in just picking a side. It's about asking, okay, what new, third way can we create by combining these totally different strengths? This experiment shows us AI not just as a tool we use, but as a creative partner, one that can analyze, critique, and evolve right alongside us. So the big question is, if AI can actively evolve its own creativity, what new possibilities does that unlock for ours? This whole thing suggests a future of co-creation that we are really only just beginning to imagine.